Hi everyone. Let's continue our Power BI tutorial and explore the basics of Power Query. In this lesson, we'll use the same web page from the previous video, the one that lists countries by past and projected future population. Specifically, we'll focus on Table 2 from that page, which contains population data from 1950 to 1980. First, let's copy the link to that web page for later use. We'll begin by creating a new blank PBIX file and then get data from the web page. From the Get Data drop-down menu, select Web, and then click Connect. In the Web Connection dialog box, paste the link and click OK. Power BI will connect to the web page and automatically detect all available tables. You'll then see the Navigator dialog box displaying these tables and data structures. Select Table 2, which contains the population data between 1950 and 1980. Next, click Transform Data to open the Power Query editor. First, choose Use First Row as headers so the table has meaningful column names that clearly describe the data. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can easily undo the action by clicking the delete icon next to the corresponding step under Applied Steps. The next step is to remove the columns we don't need. You'll notice a column named %, which contains values like 1.2. The 1.2 indicates that the data type is decimal, while the % is the column name. Scroll to the right in the data view, and you'll see additional columns named %1, %2, %3, %4, and %5. Hold down the Control key and select %, as well as %1 through %5, scrolling as needed. Then, on the Home tab of the ribbon, click Remove Columns. All the selected columns will be removed. Now, let's see how to filter data. Click the drop-down arrow in the Country or Dependent Territory column. A sorting and filtering drop-down will appear. Scroll down the list to find World, uncheck it. And then click OK to exit the drop-down. The rows showing the world totals will now be removed from the dataset. Next, let's learn how to unpivot columns. Click the 1950 column heading, then scroll to the right. Hold down the Shift key, and click the 1980 column heading. This will select all columns from 1950 through 1980. On the Transform tab of the ribbon, select Unpivot Columns. Power BI will transform the selected columns into rows, creating two new columns called Attribute and Value. The Attribute column contains the former column names, the years, and the Value column contains the corresponding data values. Now, let's rename these columns for clarity. Click the Attribute column heading, right-click it, and select Rename from the context menu. Type year and press Enter. Next, right-click the Value column heading, select Rename. Type Population, and press Enter. Since the population values are currently expressed in thousands, we'll adjust them to show their full magnitude. On the Transform tab of the ribbon, select Standard then Multiply. In the Multiply dialog box, type 1000 as the value, then click OK. The population numbers will now be multiplied by 1000 to reflect their true values. Since the population column was automatically set to a decimal number data type, let's change it to a whole number. Click the data type indicator in the population column header. A drop-down list of data types will appear. Select whole number. The data type of the population column will now change to whole number. Next, on the right under Properties, replace the name with Population 1950 to 1980. Finally, on the Home tab of the ribbon, click Close and Apply. Power BI will now pull the data from the web page, apply all the transformations, and load the transformed data into the data model. One important point to mention here: we can use the Power Query Editor either before loading or after loading the data into Power BI. But is there a difference? Yes, and the most common and recommended approach is to use Power Query Editor before loading the data. When you first connect to your data source, Power Query opens in preview mode, meaning the data has not yet been loaded into Power BI. This is where you should perform all your transformations, such as removing or renaming columns, filtering rows, changing data types. Doing these steps before loading has several advantages. Optimized performance. Only the cleaned and filtered data is loaded into Power BI. Lower memory usage. Power BI only stores what's necessary. Faster refreshes. Smaller datasets load and refresh more quickly. Cleaner data model. You avoid clutter from unnecessary columns or rows. In short, this approach lets you shape the data before it enters the Power BI data model. You can also open Power Query after the data has already been loaded to make additional transformations. When you click Close and Apply, Power BI will refresh and reload the updated data model. However, this method has a few downsides. It triggers a full data reload after every change. Large datasets can take longer to process and may impact performance. Any dependent visuals, measures, or relationships might temporarily break if column names or structures change. In summary, use Power Query before loading for most data cleaning and shaping. This is the best practice. Use Power Query after loading only for small tweaks or quick corrections. That wraps up today's lesson. In this course, we introduced the Power Query Editor, covering how to remove unnecessary columns, filter data, unpivot columns, and change data types. We also discussed the difference between using Power Query Editor before and after loading your data. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into Power Query transformations and learn how to manage rows and columns in more detail. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support our work and stay updated with upcoming lessons.